Just when all hope was lost in comic book movies, still being able to make the big bucks in theaters, a savior emerged. Spider-Man Brand New Day is making all the money, but was it actually a good film? Join Jonathan from Comic Book Cinema, Jon Automates, Esau, and Hydra Man Rand as they discuss their likes and dislikes with this movie, the direction of the MCU, and what this means for comic book movie fatigue. Be warned, there are massive spoilers in this video for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now there's nothing left to do but dig on this. I'll start off by saying this. I really enjoyed Brand New Day. I've heard the debate online, the discourse. I agree. I think it's the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, if not right underneath No Way Home. I'm still debating that. Like, was No Way Home better because of the cameos and the fanfare, which is something I'm a sucker for? Was it truly a better film? So I'm somewhere in that territory right now. I do think that Spider-Man 2 is potentially still better than Brand New Day as well. One thing that's crazy, it is blowing the box office up right now.
Right. Like, it's insane.
Cannot believe that. There were so many people talking about it was going to make $800 million in its opening weekend. And I was thinking in my head, I didn't really say it in our group chat, John, but I was thinking these guys are crazy if they really think this movie's going to make 800. It's touching 900 plus mil now. Opening weekend.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
Honestly, after having watched it, like, I'm not mad at it. I get it. I don't know what my expectations were, but I think I've tried really hard not to, but I feel like I've gotten a little bitter with the Marvel projects, and I was pleasantly surprised. Like, I like Thunderbolts as well, so like I'm not like an MCU hater, but no, this one was great.
You kind of touched on something right there, Isak. You feel like you might have gotten bitter with the MCU. How do you guys feel right now as far as the MCU, superhero movies in general? Does anyone feel that bitterness, if we're honest with ourselves right now a little bit?
I'm not even looking forward to Doomsday at this point. Like that's how bitter I've gotten. I'm like, oh, it's just going to be a cameo fest full of member berries, to use South Park's terminology. They're just trying to clickbait us with nostalgia. I want a real story. I want real characters. I don't want that clickbait crap. That's what I feel about like No Way Home. Like, I don't really like No Way Home because of that. I don't really like Deadpool and Wolverine because of that. Those movies are good the first time. I don't think they're any good the second, third time. They completely fall off, in my opinion. And then the rest of the MCU just doesn't do much at all for me right now.
Yeah, this didn't do anything for the Doomsday at all. But then again, let's be honest, we don't look at Spider-Man as an MCU property. We look at Spider-Man as Spider-Man, the same way we look at Batman as Batman, and we don't really look at it as wider DC. Those two things can stand on its own. Look what it did you saw what it did domestically. Look what it did foreign. Like, they opening up foreign and having Spider-Man is Spider-Man. I wouldn't be surprised if this movie ends up being bigger and making more money than Doomsday does. It would not be surprising in the slightest, just because it's not to say Spider-Man's bigger than Marvel, and it's not to say Batman's bigger than DC, but historically speaking, you can make the claim that they are. So
they're the cornerstones that built those two empires.
It's hard to get excited when it just feels like kind of aimless, especially with DC. My complaints like lean more DC. With Marvel, it just feels like they kind of missed their window a little bit. Like with Phase 4 and 5, that was the perfect opportunity for them to introduce the mutants. Quite literally, they had nothing else going on. All of the things they introduced for Phase 4 and 5, they've essentially just dropped. Damn near every single post-credit scene. We're never going to see what happens next. Like, it's just kind of up in the air, and then they moved on.
They got dealt a really bad card with one of their actors. Their main core actor too,
like with Majors.
Yeah,
I mean, but like, okay, like what about Shang-Chi? Oh, your rings, it's calling us something deeper from the multiverse universe, and then nothing for what, like 7 years now it's been since Shang-Chi came out. Like,
jeez, that's been that long.
They canceled Wonder Man too. I thought Wonder Man was great.
It was a fun show.
They canceled that. Why even set it up if we're not going to do anything with it? It just feels like a waste. Why should I get invested if that's how they're treating the properties, you know?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that they've quite gotten to that territory where we were at about 3 years ago with DC, where it was like, okay, we know that we're rebooting the whole DC universe, but here's 4 more movies that we still need to throw out there.
Right.
So please come see them. And I'm James Gunn, and I approve this message, you know? Look, as far as like Doomsday goes and the excitement level, I get that. I totally get that. Not everyone is like me when it comes to superhero films. It's so hard to explain because when I was a kid, I looked forward to superhero movies so much. It didn't matter what it was. Even back in the day when Jonah Hex was coming out, I was super excited about that. I didn't even know what it was. If it's a superhero property, DC or Marvel, I'm going to be super stoked no matter what. There was a phase from 2008 to 2018 where every movie in the MCU was banger, banger, banger. Winter Soldier, the first Avengers movie. And the Winter Soldier, by the way, you want to talk about character and not just relying on cameos and fanfare and stuff like that, Kevin. That was a fantastic film.
Winter Soldier is still my favorite movie in the entire MCU. For my tastes, it's pretty much a perfect comic book movie.
Yeah, and we got used to that tier of quality like consistently. We honestly got spoiled as an audience. And now they finally hit their first like pretty long rough patch.
I think what you're forgetting there is that, yeah, they did have the Winter Soldier and they did have Civil War and they had Doctor Strange. They had these high points. They had low points in there too. They had the second Thor movie. I know some people like Ant-Man, but Ant-Man's kind of a low point too. Like it's not really that great. Like you can tell like they switched directors like halfway through.
Iron Man 2.
That one.
Yeah, that was another low.
Yeah, Iron Man 2 and 3. I
Galaxy
know I like Iron Man 3, but I know a lot of people don't like it. I think there were high points that kept us going through the middle.
Even the low points, right? Like they still contributed to an overarching story. They were providing something. Like it still felt like we were moving forward. Whereas like the bad that is created now, it's like it's just molasses. It's just nothing. It's a nothing burger, and then they move on, and then they throw it away. I feel like the one that suffers the most is Thor 2. It's fair to say that that's like the worst MCU movie of this entire era. And I think that's because they introduced a bunch of elements that they did nothing with. And there's so much rich lore with Thor and like all of these different realms, and they really didn't do anything with it. It's disappointing that like the later phases took inspiration from Thor 2 and not the other ones.
Isak, I want to ask you a question because I know that you kind of felt in some ways like I did when the Marvels came out. We both were a little more sympathetic towards that film when it first came out. Do you still feel we were? I was a little sympathetic when that film came out. However, John knows this, that I'm automatically going to give films a higher rating when they first come out, especially if it's a superhero movie.
I feel that. Me too. Yeah.
Just because I'm biased towards, like I told you guys earlier, DC and Marvel. But now, over time and upon rewatching that film, it was kind of like the Eternals for me. It definitely fell down several rungs for me personally. But I wanted to ask you, do you still feel the same way about the Marvels?
A lot of the excitement that I had for it was like Iman Vellani, I think is how her name is pronounced. But like I liked her a lot as Miss Marvel. Like even though I thought that like the Miss Marvel show itself was messy and choppy and like it was like two mid shows put together, and like if they would have just focused on one of them, it would have been a lot better for like one overarching story, like either the damage control and then the other one was like these vague villains from like her homelands, whatever that was. But I liked her in the movie, and I really liked Monica Rambeau a lot.
Don't forget that zinger she delivered at the end of that show, though.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
What? She's holding thousands of people hostage.
And it could have been thousands more if she hadn't put up her own quarantine.
Terrible
Like
line, but she was still okay though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was really optimistic about like where we could go from here, like what we've established here, like the potential, and then nothing. Especially with that like X-Men crossover. Like I thought we were gonna get something like more immediate about that, and then it turned out to never be anything at all. But maybe I guess we'll see her in Secret Wars, maybe. I don't know.
And I feel like that was the biggest problem though. You guys brought this up earlier. Phase 4, they were directionless. It was like they kind of had a semi-plan with Kang, partly due to him getting in the trouble that he got into, but also I don't think Kang would have worked out even if Jonathan Majors never would have gotten in trouble. They let Ant-Man and the Wasp whoop his butt.
God, that was insane.
Then they let Sylvie whoop his butt again. How are you building this character and making him seem like more of a threat? I understand that it's his variant, but how are you hyping this character up in people's minds when you continuously see him get his butt kicked? That was not going to work.
What's so exhausting about like the MCU? So many people, they go to bat for it. They do the work of writing for Marvel. It's like, oh, it's just a variant. We had a very solid Kang story in Loki. I think like if you just keep it exclusive to Loki and just keep everything that happened with Kang in Loki, fine. They tried to do more and it was messy, and it felt like the directors, they didn't even communicate. I feel like they're suffering from the same problem that like Marvel Comics themselves suffer from, that there's no editor, there's no person that's actually in charge to make sure that there's continuity between the things. We know that Kang might vaguely be appearing, so let me just try my best effort at Kang. and then it fell through. I can't imagine like the boardroom meeting where they were like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then Ant-Man calls upon an army of ants. And then everybody was just like, yes, like good. Like
Yeah,
it's
that's
insane.
that's exactly
It's
how they
insane.
were, because they
Yeah.
had this idea that they were going to switch it and they were going to make it, oh, let's get as many. I mean, we know, like, I don't know why we were pretended as a populace, like they wanted more female hero. More female heroes was one of the things, and then the other thing was like, oh, and we want to appeal to kids, which is why they started going the Young Avengers route. Well, guess what? The women actually liked what they already had there, and the kids did not care about the Young Avengers. They wanted the older ones, ironically. So it just didn't really work, and that's why Spider-Man is working, because
Exactly.
at the very least we have movie after movie after movie after movie. We have some kind of direction. There was no direction in Phase 4, like Isak said. There's nothing to grab onto, which is why I don't think Doomsday is going to do that well, because there's nothing to really grab onto. Whereas Spider-Man, we have 3 previous movies and his cameos in other movies to grab onto.
Someone pointed out like the time period of like 2008 to 2018. People don't like to acknowledge is the power of characters in these movies. Like they are character first stories. Like you're going to go and watch Iron Man. Like the MCU was at its peak when they got to use the most famous Marvel characters. It's when they turned away from the characters that have already proven their popularity in the comics, and they were like, we want to really adapt Agatha Harkness. And then it's not successful. Like how many Agatha Harkness comics sell? How many Ironheart comics sell? Not a lot. Like if we just look and see what's consistent, like you'd see that they have way more material to pull from instead of just having to make shit up on the way.
Agatha Harkness got her series because she became a meme. That's the only reason. Like somebody in marketing was like, hey, this is meme worthy. It'll make a couple people sign up for Disney Plus. We won't lose money on it. That was the only reason why she got her own show. I don't think anybody had the intention. I think her only intention was WandaVision.
Just to touch on something John had said about like the pushing of female superheroes, I think that played a role into it. And something that's like very, very absent from like Phase 4 and 5 is an Avengers movie. If you just objectively look at the characters that we had to deal with, like at that point after Endgame, the only real Avengers team of any interest would be like 90% male.
He's out of line, but he's right.
What script would be written with like what Captain Marvel? She was like the only female superhero that they had at that point, and like Wanda, but she was traumatized over Vision's death. And so to like present an Avengers movie would go against the entire ethos that they were now trying to push of like manufactured equality, this appearance of equity. And what ends up happening is that we get nothing. We end up having nothing good and everything mid.
That was a big part of Phase 4 and 5's failure, that manufactured force DEI that doesn't necessarily make sense. Or do you think that this would be best for the story, Kevin Feige? No, not really. But the reporters keep asking me about adding more LGBTQ plus characters. They keep asking me about more female characters and this and that. We just need to cross off those check boxes and act like we care. I don't think that they actually cared about that. I think that they just wanted to make, at the end of the day, studios just want to make money, right?
All the LGBTQ characters have been in positions in the movies where their sexuality can be edited out for foreign markets.
Yes.
They obviously don't care.
Sometimes it's like the opposite too. Like they put that at the forefront. Like that's, being gay is all only about,
only for a Disney Plus show, only for something that isn't going to be in theaters overseas.
China.
For China.
Like the
China,
like the Eternals, like everything without one character having to be gay, which you only know because he kissed his husband. They had to have that where it could be edited out and you wouldn't notice. So
I mean, like, hey, if you talk about like they miniaturize the black characters too, they are shooting themselves in the foot by not recasting T'Challa. They're putting themselves in such an awful position because they like the appearance of caring, or maybe because they don't want to separate Ryan Coogler from the Black Panther projects, and like that's more of a Ryan Coogler decision. But they recasted just about everyone. General Ross, the guy who played General Ross, just died, and they were like, Harrison Ford, whatever, toss Harrison Ford in, no issue. But like when it comes to T'Challa, the main black lead in this entire universe, we got to respect real life now. And then it's just like, we can't recast him. It's a waste. I think the most ideal Avengers squad right after Endgame should have been T'Challa, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man. Let them introduce the X-Men. Like let them introduce the mutants and deal with them. There was so much potential that just went wasted. Like Doctor Strange too. We got one Doctor Strange movie that was essentially just a Wanda Doctor Strange movie that was addressing multiversal incursions that ended up being completely irrelevant because the method by which we're going with multiversal incursions in Doomsday is completely different. It's like, all right. So that was just all nothing.
They
So much
introduced
money.
the Fantastic Four. That's why. So they have to switch it up. That's the way it goes.
And what's crazy is they introduced the Fantastic Four with a montage. A montage.
I think that was the best part of the movie. hearing
Yeah.
TV on the radio and all those classic freeze frames from comic book covers
Right.
in the past.
Yeah, I thought Hulk was the best
I
part
think
of the
that
movie.
was actually the best part of the movie, because I got some major problems with the movie. I'm one of
Yeah,
those guys.
I want to hear those complaints.
I don't think her redemption arc is earned. That's it.
She killed a lot of people. Like she kind of just pulled a Wanda and then was like, I'm sad though.
It's a movie made for people that have no attention. The first act completely negates the third act. Everything they do with that character. And then obviously yesterday they finally cast Emma, and I was like, okay, well, there's your character for the movie. That was some Emma to do. That would have made complete sense that Emma Frost did all the awful things that happened in that movie. That was not Jean Grey at all. I know everybody went, oh, Dark Phoenix. No, that's a space entity. That's not Jean Grey. That's a completely different thing. So I have a lot of problems with the movie because of the character structure, because of the entire plot. I love him in a costume. I love the fact that sometimes he looks like it's the 1970s Spider-Man television show. I love that. I think that's great. There's a lot of good things, but the redemption arc doesn't work.
Kevin's a big comic guy, obviously. I'm less of a comic guy, more of a movie guy. But for me, yeah, I guess that's not something that necessarily ruined the movie for me. But I can totally see that argument as far as the X-Men and how they're being introduced. Like, that's another thing that raises so many questions. Have the X-Men
it's not that they're introduced. It really is just the structure of the entire film based on her being redeemed. The way they redeemed the character was not earned based off her actions. As far as I can see, she's more of a villain than Damage Control. And they tried to switch it around and say Damage Control was the villain. Not from everything we were shown in that movie. I'm really sorry.
I don't even know if it's a redemption arc, right? It's just like I was on the bad path and was convinced to no longer follow this path. It's not like she embraces like this heroism by the end. She just decides to not kill. And given everything that led up to that choice that she made, I think that it made sense, like Spider-Man's involvement. What I had an issue with it all was the efficiency in which she would like be cruel and harmful to everyone. But when it comes to Mesker, the guy who actually did all of the things, like she's sitting there with all of the glass going, well, why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I do it? Like, no, this should be the one time you show no hesitation. Where is that hesitation all of the sudden coming from? Like, I had an issue with that. In terms of like Spider-Man and like the relationship that they had, I understand where she would be coming from. Given the context of like just this specific story, she only had her sister and then her sister was pretty brutally murdered. And she's like trying to hunt that down. I get that. As somebody with telepathy, I'm pretty sure she was relatively similar in the Ultimates comics where she was like on the run and like the hoodie, like that was her look. I have issues with her characterization, like right at the end there with Mesker, but overall, I see where she's coming from. I really do.
He's in a movie with the Punisher, so that immediately makes her a little bit more sympathetic. I'm pretty sure she at least killed one person.
Remind this old man with old man memory here, who did she actually kill before?
So there's a scene where she's in Peter's apartment and she's talking to him and somebody on the street. And it's a complete homage to the movie Fallen from the 1990s with Denzel Washington. Great horror film if you've never watched it. She's jumping around talking to different people. And the final guy she talks to is this old man, and she makes him step in the middle of traffic and get hit by a car. That guy's dead, or at least he's never walking again.
There were a lot of aspects of the movie that were convenient. Like, I can hop in anyone's mind except the one guy who's going to emotionally push me to be a better person. For some reason, I just can't hop in his mind. I'm Jean Grey. I'm on the run. I know how to make a bomb. I know how to steal this thing. I get it. Some of the things just required her body hopping, but she for sure left what was a homemade bomb in that tank that then blew up.
That wasn't a homemade bomb. That was a bomb that she took from Damage Control.
What did she need Scorpion for, really? What really did she need him for? Like, she was pretty intense on getting Scorpion.
To distract.
But like, why?
No, she was actually using him because it would be easier for him with his enhanced abilities in his armor suit to actually enter Damage Control facilities. Because I thought about that too, and I had to go back and actually think about it. That's when Spider-Man fought. He was at a Damage Control facility when Spider-Man fought him. That was a Damage Control facility because
that was.
He was looking at surveillance video from his AI, Naomi Watts, whatever that was. That's where Scorpion was walking out of, though. That's why Spider-Man went there to engage with Scorpion and stop him. Because he was coming out of a Damage Control facility. I had a lot of problems with this movie, so I really dissected it to make sure that, okay, let's get all the fake problems out of the way so I can focus on like my real issues with the plot. And my other big thing, I have two small gripes. One, they wasted Silver Sable. They could have had a perfect cameo with her instead of Black Widow. We didn't need another MCU tie-in. We already had 2 other ones. And then they wasted Tombstone because he's just a favorite villain of mine, a Spidey villain. So
yeah, I
he
kind of
was
expected
wasted.
more from him for sure.
And
So-
it was the same actor that did the Spider-Verse voice for Tombstone. Like, it was like such a waste. Like, that would have been great to have him.
Yeah,
in the
he's
movie
a
more.
good actor. By the way, I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on this. The Yelena thing. I've heard some people online discuss this, and they say that they think that was a humiliation ritual for Spider-Man or for our male protagonist. What do you guys think about him having to strip down and get into the hot tub sauna with Yelena? Just in general, your thoughts.
Like
on
that's
Yelena.
probably what does that even mean, right? Like she's like a Russian spy.
It was a
Like,
Russian cliche. It was just the
Yeah.
easy Russian storytelling cliche, a way to get an easy joke in.
Yeah. I mean, like, I
Wasn't my
feel like
favorite
like
part.
humiliation is, I don't know if that's like a humiliating situation.
Yeah, he kept his underwear on the entire time. They
Right,
didn't even show
right.
his butt.
I like what they tried to do with like the feeling of interconnectivity with Yelena. I felt like Punisher, I don't necessarily consider him in that same way because he feels more like a supporting character to Spider-Man than he feels like a connection to some like deeper MCU. I like it. I get what they're doing, but when they're so insistent that like this is an interconnected universe, I can't help but like remember 6 months ago, we all sat around and watched Daredevil get locked up for vigilantism. He's rotting away in jail, but Punisher gets to sit by Peter's bedside. Like, how are New York laws enforced? That's inconsistent.
He waltzed in and out of 2 federal
Right.
facilities.
And like he's
Barely-
driving around with
because
his
he had to
Punisher
get-
logo just on the front. Just everybody knows who he is, like just shooting everything. It's just everybody's like, oh, that's Punisher, but yeah, Daredevil. He punched a bald dude, so jail forever.
I think that you kind of have to let some of those things slide, especially when you have so many different parts or so many different moving parts and pieces with what the MCU is now, especially with their TV shows. I mean, I know that Kevin Feige's kind of slightly hinted at this before in the past, but it's almost like that their shows are kind of a little more further removed than the movies are, I guess, in some ways. But I totally get what you're saying. I mean, these are characters from the shows at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Which started
Well,
on
then why not-
Netflix, and now we have them on Disney Plus. So
Why
what'd you
not
say?
have Fisk in it then? Since
Right.
he technically
Mhm.
owns half of Damage Control. So like you could have had Fisk in there, and you could have had, I still say you could have had Daredevil in there, or what was that cameo in the last one? But that's neither here nor there. But
I was expecting Daredevil to show up once he started having the overwhelming sensory
Yeah,
issues.
I
I was
thought
really
that
expecting
too.
Daredevil to show
Yeah.
up for like a little
That'd have been
training
cool.
montage.
I didn't even consider that. That'd have been awesome.
Right now in the comic books, Daredevil's having the same issue, so he got with Spider-Man to help him get his stuff under control in the Daredevil comic. So maybe that's
also
what
a
my
normal
mind was
team up.
too.
That's like a pretty popular team up too.
Right.
Daredevil and Spider-Man. Like
Yeah.
they've teamed up quite a few times. There's actually a thing between Daredevil, Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Fisk. There's like a ground level thing between the 4 of them. Obviously, you can't have Tony Stark in there. Fine. Fisk, you could still. So that's why I was always kind of like, you could have had those two, could have tied in that show if you wanted to. But then it makes me go, you don't really care about the shows.
I just can't bring myself to care all that much about like Daredevil. It's quite literally not even the Daredevil show. It's the Daredevil Wilson Fisk show. Every season, it's been the same over and over and over. Daredevil has more villains, and Wilson Fisk, he's the villain to a lot more guys. Like, why are they always together? And I get it. Like, Vincent D'Onofrio became like an executive producer and a huge voice in the fact that the show was even brought back at all. But like, you're in a shared universe. He was in Hawkeye. That was great. If we can put him in a Hawkeye for an Echo origin, we can't put him in Spider-Man though.
I think they like
Yeah.
to forget that Echo exists.
Yeah. The Hulk fight for sure made up for it. But
Yes.
absent the Hulk fight, right? Like, if that fight didn't exist, I would be left feeling with this movie like there was something missing. Like there was like some big climactic thing that Peter had to do that was missing, because like it's not that it's anticlimactic, but it's everything kind of resolved itself. Like I don't want a big beam in the sky. I'm tired of those, but like I want some crazy action that's not Spider-Man fighting these like fodder ninjas. Like I wanted something like deep and powerful. But like I said, Hulk fight kind of fed that. So I'm cool, and I think the movie was great. Honestly, I think it's my favorite Spider-Man movie. It's my favorite Tom Holland movie, no doubt.
Even with all the problems we just talked about.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Homecoming's still my favorite Tom Holland. I think Homecoming is wildly underrated. I love
That's
that.
valid. That's valid.
I'm a big
Hey.
Michael Keaton fan too, so
Mhm.
I love that movie.
Yeah. When you said that,
I mean,
at first, I
Spider-Man
was like,
2 is the best, but
I'm
I
always
do
Spider-Man
love
too.
Homecoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 is fantastic. But yeah, when you just said that at first, I was kind of like, I don't know. I think he might be a little crazy. But then I started thinking about it a little bit in my head. Yeah, Vulture was great. You know, that scene
The
alone.
dynamic, it was great.
Excellent. When they're in the
Yeah,
car.
Yeah.
yes,
Yep.
that moment in the car.
It's one of my favorite scenes of when like Peter gets the building dropped on him. He has to motivate himself out of that. Like
Yeah,
people call him Iron Boy, and like it was like that complaint that like he was not his own hero for a long time. But I feel like it was that moment that it's like no, that he is Spider-Man right there. Homecoming, it happened right
Right.
there. People just ignore it.
let's talk about the action a little bit because you brought up the Hulk fight. That scene alone, and then you had Punisher and Jean Grey still in the mix. That was
Yeah.
such an intriguing, fun, awesome fight.
I love how like everyone treated Hulk like the monster he was.
Yeah.
Punisher's like, oh no, thank you. And even on the news, how like he snapped and he's become like this monster again. The Hulk should be a scary thing in existence.
Yes.
I've hated for the last decade how we have like this vague relationship that Hulk and Banner have built that's super inconsistent between movies. Sometimes he's burying the beast, sometimes they've come to an agreement, sometimes he's always been in control. Like now it's like no, Monster Hulk is back. I'm not sure like how familiar you guys are with the last couple years of Hulk's comics, but I'm hoping that like because of what Jean Grey did to him, the technology will no longer work, and so he will have to turn to like more supernatural means to try and control the monster. And we open up to more Immortal Hulk, Infernal Hulk type storylines. That's where I think he's got a lot left. I think I'm over the scientist Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
It could have
See,
been.
I don't feel like we got enough of the science. I'm a big fan of Peter David's run in the 80s and 90s. I love Professor Hulk. I don't feel like we got enough of it.
It's valid.
You want more Professor Hulk, Kevin?
I do. I really like Professor Hulk.
Because of Professor Hulk, I do not think Punisher should have been in this movie. That's a neither. I don't have a complaint with him being in the movie. I do not think he should have been in this movie. Again, I'm a fan of the comics, so maybe there's bias. I think that should have been Luke Cage because it would have been one. Luke Cage has a gang war comic where he literally is with Spider-Man, so that's neither here nor there, but that's literally part of it. But two, Luke Cage versus the Hulk can be an actual thing. Obviously, Hulk destroys Luke Cage, but not immediate. So if you have a Professor Hulk where he's not quite there, because obviously he gets progressively strong with anger and everything like that, then you could have a situation where Luke Cage could actually go up against the Hulk initially, and then all of a sudden it's like you just get taken over, and then that would really instill some crazy fear. Because here's a guy who like maybe has it, and then it's like, nope, Hulk is so overwhelmingly just scary that it's like there's just nothing you can do, and you can play up to the whole anger thing that Bruce has. Neither here nor there, though. It didn't happen. They're not going to go the gang war storyline, but I thought that would have been a cool aspect because of Professor Hulk. Do you think this does anything for Doomsday excitement? I don't. Does it do anything for Doomsday moving forward? They tried to do little things here and there, but you also could tell they tried to kind of stay away from it a little bit. Does it do anything for it?
Well, even the after credit scene hints at Secret Wars, not Doomsday.
Yeah, rather than Doomsday, yeah.
So
higher tides raise all the ships, whatever that saying is.
Oh, right. Yeah, lift all boats.
Lift all the boats.
Yeah.
I think it helps. Now, Supergirl just recently coming out. General audiences can't really separate between DC and Marvel. They don't know these things, right? For the most part. My parents don't know those sort of things. Most people that go see these movies don't know those sort of things. But I will say that I think audiences are more intelligent when it comes to that sort of thing now than they were 10, 15 years ago. But with all that being said, yes, I do think that it helps a little bit. It's the Marvel brand that's looking a little better after this film comes out. Will Avengers Doomsday make more money than this film? I can't believe I'm actually asking this question. I never thought I would have asked this question, but it's possible. It's very possible, especially with such a huge opening weekend. That is insane. I never thought we would see an opening like that post-pandemic, but here we are. But yes, I do think it helps it maybe a little slightly.
I think the Marvel studio knows that the clickbait nostalgia pays off. They've set that up in their trailer. I think people are excited to see the original Cyclops in his actual outfit and the other X-Men characters. So I don't even think they care about what the story is. I think they just want to go for popcorn and eye candy. And I am far from general audiences. I know that. I am a bitter old man.
We all are.
Like,
we all are.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to look outside of myself. I think it'll do fine. I think it'll make just as much, if not more money.
I think it's going to make less than Infinity War and Endgame, but it's going to still make a ton of money. And I think it's going to make less because people are just not that interested in the roster that we've seen so far. Best case scenario, we're getting like nostalgia bit with the X-Men and the Avengers lineup. Like absent the X-Men, it's probably the weakest lineup that we've had since Age of Ultron. Like all things considered, we've got the Fantastic Four and Thor. Shang-Chi, like he's cool, yeah, but like outside of that, people just don't really care about the characters all that much. If Spider-Man was in that movie, for sure I think Secret Wars is going to make more than Doomsday. Pretty sure he's
100%.
for sure going to be in Secret Wars. Marvel, they've kind of burnt a lot of bridges with the fans at this point. Like, even the shills are having a hard time, like, still rocking with Marvel. So they're in a position where, like, this movie, it's not feeding into the optimism or the hype. But if it was bad, if it was like panned, people would immediately turn that into like pre-reviews of what Doomsday could be. It would be, oh, if y'all can't even do Spider-Man, this is going to be awful. I think the fact that it's doing good, it's going to have a positive impact on Doomsday. But this is the best that it could have had. Like, this is the best impact it could have had.
Real quick, let's throw out our estimations for Doomsday. If you had to like say how much you think Doomsday is going to make at the box office, I'm going to throw out my prediction first. I think it's a safe bet to go 1.5 billion. I know that may sound crazy to some, but I think it could. And that's where Avengers Age of Ultron was at. So I'm going 1.5 bill. What do you guys think?
You know what?
I don't even pay attention to this stuff anymore. So yeah, I'll go with you, John. Let's go 1.6 just to,
Yeah,
or
I'm
no,
gonna go lower.
1.4. I'm going to undercut you.
950 to 1.2. I don't know if it's cracking past.
I think the foreign market will let it get past a billion in that regard. I originally would have said like 975 or something like that, but like I think it'll get there. I still think it makes less than Spider-Man though.
If you had to rate this film on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being terrible, unwatchable, I never want to see it again, and 10 being perfect, where do you land? We'll start with you, Mr. Esoc.
Overall, I got to give it like an 8.5 to a 9. Not only did it have the best swinging that I've seen since Amazing Spider-Man, I
Yes.
think that it had the best action sequences that I've seen since the Insomniac video games. They took a lot of inspiration. Like, Spider-Man was putting belt to ass the entire movie. I think that it's the first movie that makes really, really good use of the other MCU characters. Like I said, I brought up earlier, like the Iron Boy allegations, but like I do think that there's some merit to those because each of the Spider-Man movies featured another Marvel character that didn't work to support, but instead kind of detracted from Spider-Man and like the Spider-Man centric movie, right? Like, even post-mortem, like Iron Man had this huge influence on the Spider-Man movie, Far From Home. It always felt like a detriment. Whereas in this movie, like all of the MCU cast, even like the little bit that Black Widow was in there, it felt like they were supporting Peter. Like, they were all supporting his overarching story. I really felt the connection, and maybe it's because of Tom Holland's acting, and he's an incredible actor. Like, he really gets it across. It felt like Spider-Man on screen. I really haven't felt that since like I was a kid watching like the Tobey Maguire movies. Because even like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, like he felt like a version of Spider-Man to me. He never felt like Peter Parker, you know, like picking himself up from the dirt and doing his thing. The suit was great. Super important that has been completely absent from the Tom Holland movies is New York as a character. Reading any of the Spider-Man comics, watching the older Spider-Man movies, New York is like Gotham to Batman. Like, it is a living, breathing part of who Spider-Man is. But I never felt that throughout the first three Tom Holland movies. Like, there's an entire Tom Holland movie that takes place in other places throughout the world. They don't care. It doesn't really matter all that much. But here, it really felt like he was the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and that's really what I've been looking for. I'm optimistic for what's next. Like I said, 8.5 to a 9. I'm gonna have to rewatch it because, like Jonathan said, I'm biased as well when it comes to like just initially watching a movie. I'm real big on and optimistic. Give me like a month and it might be a little bit more rational. But it did have its problems, had its inconsistencies. But comparing that to the other Marvel movies' inconsistencies, I think it was solid.
If we're doing half scales, then I would say 7.5 to 8.
That's
Probably getting towards the 8, only because I kind of agree. I don't think it's the best Tom Holland movie. I think a lot of people are going to say it is. And to be fair, it's weird. It's like you kind of can't disagree with people that it's the best Tom Holland movie, but you could also make the point why it isn't. So more so say an 8. I think it's great. I think it's pretty solid for everything that it tries to do. I do not really like Jean Grey in terms of how she is. I think Sadie Sink plays her pretty well, and I think it's like cool. And there's like, all right, there's some places where she could go, but boy, is it kind of up and down with how she is initially. You're kind of like, well, where are we going here? Nevertheless, I do think Tom Holland actually gets a chance to really act more here. Because I don't think he's gotten a chance to really act since the first movie. Everything since then, it's kind of like he's just kind of there and they're kind of going through the motions. So I feel like he now gets a chance to act more here and like do what he needs to do in order to like be Spider-Man. I agree with Isak. The New York is definitely a character here, so they do that. So yeah, I think it's pretty solid. I'd give it an 8. 8 overall, yeah.
Because of my issues with, I just don't buy the redemption arc. I think they let her too easily off the hook. I have a lot of problems between how cohesive the first and the third act are. It's a 6. Now, originally it was actually a 5 for me. So I've thought about it more, and like, because at first I was like, and why the hell was she letting Scorpion out? And I really thought about it, and I figured out a lot of the plot issues that I thought I had, but still, I think the inconsistencies between the first and the third act, like just get your plot structure right. Just get that right. Everything else of the movie is great. The cinematography, costume, special effects, action sequences. It's a lot to like, a lot of really fun. I think the acting is all great, but just those inconsistencies. I just can't. I feel like I'm even being generous giving it a 6.
Oh,
Yeah, that's wild.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
wow.
So hey, look, don't feel bad because I'm sure there's a lot of people that agree with you. And John and myself might or might not be in a group chat with some of those individuals that feel the same.
that's fair. I can't hate on it though. I can't hate on that at all.
Yeah,
I
no,
totally
no,
Nah,
I mean,
honestly.
understand.
Yeah,
at the end of the
it's
day,
got
people
its
have different
issues.
opinions, and movies strike people differently. And that's what I always tell people on my Facebook, on the TikTok, wherever, on social media. Period. We all are
think-
subjected to films differently, right? Like films hit us
Yeah.
all differently, and films are subjective at the end of the day. So you like what you like.
To give this movie even more credit is most MCU movies recently wash over me and I forget about it. Like this one left me thinking, like it actually made me a little angry and upset. I didn't feel that it worked. In all the places it did work, I liked it. And then I was like, okay, at least this one is art. Like I don't feel like Marvel has been putting out art. Like at least this one is art. It's making me feel something where the other ones haven't. I give it credit for that.
Since like the previous phases and like I would watch the movies and kind of review them kind of how I did the Marvels, and I would review it based on like my own optimism of like what it could be. I tried not to do that with this one. I tried to just look at it entirely for what it was. One huge problem just with the movie in general, with the story, this is the first mutant event. A kilometer of New Yorkers being like paralyzed in fear. In a couple years, we're gonna have these same people protesting mutants. I don't know how they're gonna expect us, like as the audience, who just watched Jean Grey freeze tens of thousands of people. Like we saw Zendaya literally shedding a tear. They emphasized that. So like this wasn't a fun experience. This was the first time a mutant's done anything. They're gonna be pretty justified in their fear and in their hatred. You gave all of the reason initially, and that I feel like that wasn't really put into consideration when they had Jean. It was just like, oh, what would look really cool right now for her to do, when in reality there's gonna have a lot of like negative implications down the line, or at the very least it can.
Also, let's not forget Spider-Man had to apologize to Mary Jane because he felt like he committed sexual assault against her
Yeah.
because of Jean Grey.
You know, I like that he told her.
So
Like,
let's
and he
no,
just
I liked it. That was a
informed
good
her, right?
scene.
Like,
That was
yeah.
a great Spider-Man scene. I'm just saying, let's think about everything she did.
Yeah, Jean Grey 100,000,000% used everybody's body without their consent. We're just gonna gloss over that.
They're
So that
making
died.
Phoenix as the enemy for season 6.
This is
whatever
my
it is.
question for you. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Do you believe Darth Vader's redemption was earned?
Yeah.
He's just damn near as redeemable as Jean Grey. I think it's very comparable.
But he dies and is let off the hook. He's not let off the hook and allowed to wander free through the universe.
But he gets sent to Force Ghost Heaven.
God works in mysterious ways. We can get into Calvinism and the 5 points of Calvinism if you want to. And
No,
maybe
but,
he was just
you-
predestined from the beginning. I don't know. But
It's a reclaiming of humanity, though. So I think they also separate Darth Vader from Anakin Skywalker, too.
And that's fine.
If they try to do it with Jean Grey and Phoenix, it's like, I could see where you're going, where maybe it would
Yeah.
be like, oh, well, if they're going to separate those two, I could see it. But I don't know if Marvel is going to have the consistency in the writing to even get there.
the problem with her redemption arc is Spider-Man saying, oh, she's just after her sister. That's like a literal
That's
line
valid.
in the movie.
That's valid, yeah.
And it's supposed to be used to wash everything away that she did.
But he's coming from the perspective of somebody who just helped the people who kidnapped the sister. And he's looking at it from like, okay, at one point, she's the enemy, we're hunting her down because she's being a terrorist. Whereas when he discovers like, oh, these people just kidnapped her sister and like did human experimentation on her, that is a different perspective to take. Like that would motivate Spider-Man to switch sides in any circumstance.
I think he got concussed.
They didn't have to make her so evil. She didn't have to go to the lengths that she did in the first half of the movie.
No
Like, the
C4 was
terrorism-
needed. No walking a
Yeah.
guy into traffic. No trying
like,
to
the
throw multiple
emotional
people off of
devastation.
buildings. Like, yeah.
If you knew who this person was, like you would never do that. Like he tells her that while she's like puppeteering Zendaya, because that was super, super cruel. That was f***ed up.
What was your rating originally and what is it now? Did we convince you to move it down?
No. I don't think you guys shifted me much. I'm still somewhere around an 8, honestly, at the end of the day. When I look at my list currently, it's right above Captain America, the First Avenger. That's kind of where it's positioned on the list right now. That could fluctuate within the first 6 to 12 months because I'm a lot more optimistic than I probably should be. But yeah, real quick, just to end it on this note, you guys were talking about Jean Grey and her possession and all that stuff. Who did it better, Jean Grey in this film or Wonder Woman in Wonder Woman in 1984 when she possessed that man and had sex with Trevor?
Oh, I have forgotten about that movie.
Yeah,
I think
forgot
G
about
grade
that
got
as
in
well.
my head and made me forget about that one.
Do you hate female empowerment or something, Jonathan? God, you must just hate
that's-
female empowerment. God.
Thank you so much for watching this lengthy discussion. What do you rate Spider-Man Brand New Day? Is it the best Spider-Man movie? Is it Tom Holland's best Spider-Man film? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Throw us a like. Believe it or not, I like that. Check us out on the other socials. And don't forget to check out Esoc on TikTok, Hydroman Ran, and Jon Automates on YouTube. And until next time, have a good one.